Humanity has always looked to the stars wondering, are we alone? This question is as old as consciousness itself. Our ancestors told stories of powerful beings who descended from the heavens. These beings were gods, creators, and teachers. In ancient Sumer, they were known as the Anunnaki. They represent a puzzle at the very heart of human history. Their stories, etched into clay tablets, are surprisingly detailed narratives of beings who came from the sky. The persistence of their legend challenges our understanding of the past. Perhaps it speaks to a deep-seated feeling that there is more to our existence than we are told. The story of the Anunnaki offers a compelling, if controversial, alternative narrative. They are a key that could potentially unlock some of the greatest mysteries we face. To understand the Anunnaki, we must travel back to Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers, now modern-day Iraq. Here the Sumerian people emerged, inventing writing, the wheel, astronomy, and complex legal codes. They built towering cities with monumental ziggurats. At the center of their worldview, inscribed on clay tablets, were the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were tangible beings who ruled, having descended from the heavens. Sumerian texts describe them as a pantheon led by Anu, with sons Enlil and Enki overseeing Earth's development. These texts detail the Anunnaki's arrival, their settlement in Eridu, and their mining of Earth's resources. The Anunnaki were depicted in humanoid form, credited with agriculture, city planning, and social order. Humanity, the stories claim, was created to toil for these beings. While mainstream history interprets these stories as mythology, the specificity of the texts fuels debate. These whispers from the dawn of time pose questions that resonate even today. As we delve into the Anunnaki mystery, we must ask, who or what were the Anunnaki? Were they gods or something else described in divine terms? Could they have been visitors whose advanced technology was indistinguishable from magic? Where did the Anunnaki come from? Sumerian texts speak of Nibiru, a 12th planet with a vast orbit. Could it be a real, undiscovered planet? Why did they come to Earth? The tablets suggest a mission to obtain gold to save their planet. Did they manipulate early hominid DNA to create a workforce? What is their legacy? Did they depart, or are they still here? The Anunnaki story propels from ancient history into the present day. Our exploration will be a journey across disciplines, requiring us to wear many hats. We will need the rigor of a historian, carefully examining the archaeological evidence and ancient texts. We must respect the work of mainstream scholars who view these tales as mythology. However, we cannot stop there. To fully grasp the phenomenon of the Anunnaki, we must also adopt the mindset of an explorer, willing to venture into more controversial territory, like the ancient astronaut hypothesis. We will examine their evidence and consider the profound implications if they are correct. Furthermore, we will investigate the potential relationship between the Anunnaki of Sumer and the figure of God in later religions. We invite you to join us with an open mind, a healthy dose of skepticism, and a spirit of curiosity. The story of the Anunnaki is, in many ways, the story of humanity itself, a grand epic tale that continues to unfold. Our story begins in Mesopotamia, cradled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This region, the Fertile Crescent, gave birth to the Sumerians, a people of extraordinary ingenuity. The Sumerians were building sprawling cities, charting the stars, devising mathematics, and creating cuneiform. Their cities, such as Ur and Uruk, were marvels of engineering. They built ziggurats, grand stairways to the heavens, and developed irrigation systems. At the heart of their beliefs were the Anunnaki, the founders and rulers of their world. The Sumerian king list begins with the Anunnaki themselves, establishing the first cities like Eridu. Temples were the earthly homes of the gods, and the people worked in service to these celestial overlords. To the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were not myth, but the source of all knowledge and power. Who were these beings? Sumerian texts describe a structured society of gods, a full pantheon, with a clear hierarchy. The Anunnaki, meaning those who from heaven to earth came. They were visitors from a celestial abode. At its peak was a council of great gods who made the most important decisions. They were depicted as powerful humanoid figures, often larger than human beings. Their distinctive feature was the horned helmet, the symbol of their divinity. They were the masters of the cosmos. The texts described their personalities and their jobs. They governed every aspect of existence. The Anunnaki had human-like emotions and conflicts, making them both feared and respected. They were described more like a board of directors for a cosmic corporation with a plan. Within the Anunnaki pantheon, Anu, the great father and king, stood above all. On Earth, command was divided between Anu's sons, Enlil and Enki, half-brothers often at odds. Enlil, Lord of the Air, was the mission commander, a stern figure demanding order. Enki, Lord of the Earth, was the chief scientist, a god of wisdom and a protector of humanity. This dynamic is central to the Anunnaki story. Their conflict, a complex drama of differing philosophies, echoes in later mythologies. Why did the Anunnaki create us? This is perhaps the most unsettling question raised by the Sumerian tablets. In most religions, humanity is seen as the pinnacle of creation, but the Sumerian version is far more humbling. According to the Atrahasis, humans weren't created for enlightenment. They were created to be a slave race, to relieve the gods of their work, toiling deep in the mines to extract gold. Enki suggested they create a primitive worker by upgrading an existing hominid with their own divine essence. The texts are explicit. Let man bear the toil of the gods. Humanity's creation was a practical solution to a labor dispute. This challenges our ideas about our special place in the universe. What happened to the Anunnaki? Why is Sumer now ruins? Sumerian texts suggest a gradual withdrawal, the turning point being the Great Flood, described in many mythologies. After the flood, the gods governed through human intermediaries. As centuries passed, their presence became less direct. Some say their mission was complete, others hint at conflicts. Their cities were abandoned, and the Anunnaki faded into myth. New empires adopted Sumerian gods, transforming them into celestial figures. They returned to the heavens, leaving their story etched in clay. When we ask where the Anunnaki came from, the simplest and most widely accepted answer comes from mainstream archaeology and history. From this perspective, the Anunnaki came from the human imagination. They are the central figures in a complex mythology created by the ancient Sumerians to explain their world. In this view, the heavens from which the Anunnaki descended weren't the vacuum of deep space, but a symbolic celestial realm, a divine plane of existence that mirrored the world below. The gods were personifications of natural forces and human experiences, given form and narrative to make sense of a chaotic and frightening universe. This mythological framework is really rich and powerful. The sky god Anu represented the vast unchanging dome of the heavens. Enlil, the Lord of the Air, embodied the power of wind and storms, forces that could bring life-giving rain or destructive floods. Enki, the Lord of Earth and Water, personified the fertile power of the freshwater abyss, the source of rivers and springs in the arid Mesopotamian landscape. These weren't just stories, they were a complex theological system, a way for ancient people to understand their place in the cosmos and their relationship with powerful, unseen forces that govern their lives and harvests. According to this scholarly interpretation, the stories weren't meant as literal history. They were allegories, sacred dramas that played out eternal struggles of order versus chaos, creation versus destruction, and life versus death. The conflicts between Enlil and Enki weren't boardroom disputes, but symbolic representations of the world's unpredictable nature. The creation of humanity to serve the gods was a way to explain social hierarchy and justify the temple economy, where human labor served the gods, represented by the priestly class and king. Therefore, from this conventional viewpoint, the Anunnaki came from the brilliant minds of the Sumerians. They are no different from the gods of Olympus or the Aesir of Norse mythology. They are a product of culture, a reflection of society's hopes, fears, and understanding. While this explanation is logical and well-supported, it doesn't satisfy everyone. The sheer detail and physical nature of Sumerian accounts have led many to believe this can't be the whole story, prompting a search for a more literal origin. Beyond the halls of mainstream academia lies a far more controversial and captivating theory, one that has ignited the public imagination for decades. This alternative explanation was most famously championed by an author named Zecharia Sitchin. An economist by training and a self-taught expert in Sumerian cuneiform, Sitchin proposed a radical reinterpretation of the ancient texts. He argued that the scholars had it all wrong. These were not myths or allegories. They were, he claimed, factual accounts of real events. The Anunnaki were not gods in a mythological sense. They were flesh-and-blood extraterrestrials. Sitchin's central thesis, laid out in his book series The Earth Chronicles, was that the Sumerian cosmology was not symbolic, but descriptive. When the text said, the Anunnaki came from the heavens, they meant it literally. They were astronauts from another world. He based his entire theory on his unique translation of ancient words and symbols. He contended that the Sumerians possessed advanced astronomical knowledge given to them by these visitors. This knowledge, he argued, included an understanding of our solar system that was far ahead of its time, an understanding that included all the planets we know today, plus one more. This extracelestial body is the key to Sitchin's entire narrative. He claimed the Sumerians knew it as Nibiru, which he translated as Planet of the Crossing. According to his interpretation of the texts, Nibiru was the true home of the Anunnaki. It was a 12th member of our solar system, counting the sun, the moon, and the 9 planets we recognize. Sitchin believed that this planet had a vast elliptical orbit that brought it into the inner solar system only once every 3,600 years. It was during one of these passages, hundreds of thousands of years ago, that the Anunnaki first came to Earth. Sitchin's work created a firestorm of debate. Mainstream historians, linguists, and astronomers dismissed his theories out of hand. They pointed to mistranslations of the cuneiform texts and a lack of any physical evidence to support his claims. They argued that he saw spaceships and astronauts where the Sumerians simply saw gods and stars. However, to his millions of readers, Sitchin offered a compelling and all-encompassing narrative. He provided a potential answer not just to the Anunnaki mystery, but to many of the deepest questions about human origins, ancient marvels, and our place in the universe. His work single-handedly launched the modern ancient astronaut theory into popular culture. Zecharia Sitchin claimed Nibiru, home of the Anunnaki, was the rogue planet that shaped our solar system. Drawing from the Enuma Elish, he described Nibiru colliding with a planet called Tiamat, shattering it. The debris became the asteroid belt. The surviving chunk, struck by Nibiru, became Earth, with our moon as Tiamat's former satellite. This cosmic event, Sitchin argued, explains Earth's unique features and the asteroid belt. Nibiru, now in a 600-year orbit, became home to the Anunnaki, who faced a crisis. Their atmosphere was failing. To save their world, they sought gold, found in abundance on Earth, the planet born from their ancient collision. Thus began the Anunnaki's interest in our world. The idea of a hidden planet, Planet X, has intrigued astronomers for over a century. Early searches led to Pluto, but it was too small to explain orbital anomalies. The hunt continued, and in 2016, Caltech astronomers found evidence for a massive, unseen Planet 9. Its orbit and characteristics differ from Sitchin's Nibiru, and scientists doubt it could support life. Still, the search for unknown worlds keeps the Nibiru legend alive in popular imagination. While science and myth diverge, the possibility of a hidden planet lingers. Our solar system may still hold secrets. Not all ancient astronaut theorists accept Nibiru as the Anunnaki's home. Some suggest the Anunnaki were interstellar travelers from distant star systems, not a nearby planet. Theories point to the Pleiades, Orion, or Sirius, stars with deep mythological ties. Anunnaki may simply mean those who came from the heavens, not a specific world. These ideas broaden the search for humanity's cosmic visitors, detaching the story from Nibiru. The core belief remains: humanity's origins may be intertwined with beings from the stars. As civilization moved from Sumer to Canaan, a new story emerged: the rise of a single, all-powerful god, Yahweh, later Yahweh. The shift from many gods to one marked a turning point in religious history. Some researchers see echoes of the Anunnaki in this transition, suggesting monotheism evolved from earlier Mesopotamian myths. Perhaps one Anunnaki figure was elevated, absorbing the traits of others to become the sole deity. This theory doesn't diminish faith but explores the roots of monotheism in ancient Sumer. The old gods may have been consolidated, not forgotten. The story of God may have deeper, older origins than we realize. Enlil, chief of the Anunnaki, shares striking traits with the Old Testament God. Powerful, law-giving, and quick to wrath, both demanded obedience and punished humanity's disobedience with a great flood. The Sumerian flood story and the tale of Noah are nearly identical in detail. Mainstream scholars see mythic borrowing, ancient astronaut theorists see shared memory of a real event. Could Enlil and Yahweh be two names for the same being? The parallels are too specific to ignore. The flood myth may be a window into our shared ancient past. The Hebrew Bible's use of Elohim, a plural word, has sparked debate. Traditionalists see it as a majestic plural, others as a hint of multiple deities. Ancient astronaut theorists take it literally. Let us make man in our image, echoes the Sumerian Council of Gods. The Anunnaki, led by Enki, debated humanity's creation just as Genesis describes. Could Elohim be a linguistic link to the Anunnaki? Perhaps the Bible preserves a memory of a time when gods, plural, walked among us. The story of creation may be a compressed echo of Sumerian events. The relationship between deity and humanity in both Sumerian and early biblical narratives is often defined by laws and binding agreements. These laws govern every aspect of life. Yahweh gives Moses laws on Mount Sinai, covering everything from religious ritual to civil disputes. The Sumerians credited the Anunnaki with giving them the essentials of civilization. The god Enki was often depicted as the keeper of these laws. This mirrors the Sumerian account of humanity's purpose, to bear the toil of the gods. This contractual legalistic approach to divinity is a key parallel. He provides a blueprint for society and expects it to be followed. The underlying framework of a divine covenant presents a common thread from Mesopotamia to Mount Sinai. How do we reconcile the pantheon of Sumer with the monotheism of the Bible? The conventional view is one of cultural diffusion. As civilizations interact, they share stories. The Israelites adapted Sumerian narratives, reinterpreting them through their theological lens to tell the story of their God. The story of Enlil's flood becomes the story of Yahweh's flood. The Council of the Anunnaki eventually becomes understood as the singular God. However, the alternative theory proposes something far more direct. This is not evolution, but redaction. It argues that Yahweh did not evolve from the Anunnaki, he was one of them. This is a deeply challenging idea. If the Anunnaki were real, where did they go? The simplest answer is that they left. According to theories, the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold. Once they acquired enough gold, there was no reason to remain. This theory paints a picture of a mission accomplished. The great Anunnaki leaders would have organized a systematic departure. They left behind a fledgling civilization, now free to find its own destiny. The flying chariots described in ancient texts might have been the spacecraft that carried them away. They came, they saw, they mined, and they left, leaving humanity to inherit the Earth. This departure would have been a profoundly transformative event for humanity. Suddenly, we were on our own. The memory of the Anunnaki would have become the basis for our first religions. A second, more unsettling theory suggests the Anunnaki never left at all. Instead, they simply changed their methods of control. Why abandon a planet so rich in resources, with a perfectly designed workforce ready to serve? This line of thinking proposes that as humanity grew more numerous and sophisticated, direct, overt rule became inefficient and honestly pretty problematic. The gods walking among us with their distinct appearance and visible power would have invited rebellion and constant challenges. A more subtle, more effective form of influence was required, so they decided to disappear, to melt into the background of the very civilization they had created. This theory suggests a grand strategy of concealment. The Anunnaki retreated from the public eye, operating from the shadows. They may have abandoned their old cities and temples, but they established new, hidden centers of power. From these secret bases, they continued to guide the course of human history. They would no longer be kings on golden thrones, but the unseen puppeteers pulling the strings of human rulers. They could manipulate governments, influence economies, and steer the development of science and technology without anyone ever knowing they were there. Their control would become more complete because it was invisible. How could they achieve this? Some versions of this theory speculate that the Anunnaki possess technology far beyond our comprehension, including the ability to alter their appearance or project thoughts. Others suggest a more grounded approach. They could have simply integrated themselves into elite human bloodlines. If the Anunnaki interbred with humans, as many ancient texts suggest, they could have established hybrid dynasties. These families carrying the divine DNA would be secretly guided and controlled by their pure-blooded Anunnaki relatives behind the scenes, ensuring their influence persisted through the ages in the royal courts and corridors of power around the world. This idea of a hidden hand guiding our destiny is a powerful and persistent theme in conspiracy theories throughout history. It speaks to a feeling that the world's events are not random, that there is a secret script being followed. The theory of concealed Anunnaki provides a compelling narrative for this feeling. It suggests that the great wars, the scientific revolutions, and the political shifts of human history were not accidents, but were all part of a long-term plan orchestrated by our original creators. They are not gone, they are simply hiding in plain sight, and we are unwitting actors in their very, very long game. A third possibility offers a middle ground between departure and concealment. In this scenario, the main contingent of the Anunnaki did indeed leave the Earth, their primary mission completed. However, they did not abandon their creation entirely. They left behind a small contingent, a team of observers whose task was to monitor humanity's development. These would not be rulers or manipulators, but silent guardians or scientific observers. Their role would be to watch, to record, and perhaps to intervene only in the most extreme circumstances when the survival of humanity or the planet itself was at stake. This idea resonates with the concept of the Watchers found in certain ancient texts, such as the apocryphal Book of Enoch. In these stories, a group of angels or Watchers are sent to Earth to observe humanity. While the Enochian tale has them falling from grace, the core idea of a celestial group assigned to monitor Earth is a powerful one. An Anunnaki observer team would be the ultimate non-interference directive. They would watch us stumble through history, waging our wars, building our civilizations, and making our discoveries, all from a position of detached observation, perhaps reporting back to their homeworld across the vastness of space. Where would such a group be based? Their outposts would need to be hidden and self-sufficient. Some have speculated that they might reside in deep, subterranean bases, far from the prying eyes of human exploration. Others suggest locations even more remote, such as the dark side of the moon, or within the hollowed-out asteroids of the asteroid belt. From these vantage points, equipped with unimaginably advanced sensor technology, they could monitor every aspect of our global society without ever being detected. They would be the silent landlords of our solar system, keeping a watchful eye on their planetary investment. The purpose of this long vigil could be manifold. Perhaps they are simply curious, studying the evolution of their own creation from a safe scientific distance. Or maybe their purpose is protective, to ensure that no other extraterrestrial force interferes with our development. A more ominous possibility is that they are waiting. They might be waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of technological or spiritual maturity before they reveal themselves and initiate a new phase in our relationship. Or perhaps they are simply waiting for the 3,600-year orbit of Nibiru to complete its cycle, heralding the return of their masters and the beginning of a new chapter for Earth. If the Anunnaki are still here in some capacity, whether hiding, watching, or periodically visiting, we might expect to see some evidence of their presence, however fleeting. This is where the story moves from ancient texts into the modern world of ufology and paranormal encounters. Many researchers in these fields suggest that some of the unexplained phenomena we witness today could be direct echoes of the Anunnaki presence. The countless sightings of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, are often cited as the most obvious potential sign. Could these strange craft be the vehicles of the Watchers, or scouting ships from a returning Anunnaki force? The descriptions of the beings associated with these modern encounters are also scrutinized for connections. While the gray alien is the most common archetype in modern lore, there are many reports of tall, human-like beings, sometimes described as blonde and Nordic and other times as imposing, regal figures. Some researchers have tried to connect these descriptions to the ancient depictions of the Anunnaki, who were always shown in humanoid form, albeit larger and more majestic than humans. Could the beings reported by abductees and contactees be distant descendants or members of the same species that the Sumerians knew as gods? Beyond UFOs, the theory extends to other mysteries. The enduring phenomenon of crop circles is sometimes interpreted as a form of communication, a message being left for us by a non-human intelligence. Could these intricate geometric patterns be a way for the Anunnaki to communicate with us symbolically without breaking their code of silence? Similarly, some look at the rapid, almost exponential leaps in human technology over the past century and wonder if we have had some help. Could breakthroughs in computing, genetics, and physics be the result of a subtle, guided inspiration from our hidden observers? Ultimately, these modern connections remain highly speculative. There is no definitive proof linking a UFO sighting in the 21st century to a Sumerian god from 5,000 years ago. However, for those who believe the Anunnaki story is not over, these whispers and echoes are tantalizing clues. They suggest that the gods of our past have not vanished without a trace. They may still be present at the periphery of our perception, their influence felt in the mysteries we cannot explain, and the feeling that we are part of a much larger and much older cosmic story. The question remains open: are we alone, or are the Anunnaki still out there watching us? Our investigation turns to the legacy the gods may have left behind, flesh and blood. Ancient texts speak of intimate relations between gods and mortals. The Sumerian king list tells of kings with divine parentage. Gilgamesh was described as two-thirds god. Did the Anunnaki leave descendants among us? This hybrid heritage idea explains the emergence of great leaders throughout history. Anunnaki interbreeding would have passed on advanced genetics, bestowing superior intelligence and physical prowess. These individuals would have become the first kings and legendary heroes. The concept of demigods is a recurring theme worldwide. Pharaohs were considered living gods. Mainstream history interprets divine lineage as political propaganda, but what if it were fact? The Anunnaki may have actively participated in human evolution, selectively breeding to produce a ruling class. These hybrids would serve as intermediaries, bridging the gap between gods and humans. A bloodline carrying the genetic signature of our creators may still exist today. Where would we look for a divine bloodline today? Among the oldest and most powerful families, royal houses and nobilities. For millennia, the right to rule was inherited, not earned. The divine right of kings asserted that a monarch's right to rule came directly from God. Some believe royal families of Sumer, Egypt, Europe, and Asia were part of a continuous hybrid lineage. Royal intermarriage was a desperate attempt to preserve a special genetic inheritance. The serpent symbol of royalty may be a hidden acknowledgement of genetic inheritance. This theory recasts the world's elite as Anunnaki descendants. This bloodline has allegedly guided human destiny from behind the throne. If a powerful Anunnaki bloodline exists, it would need protection. This is where the narrative of Anunnaki descendants intersects with the lore of secret societies. Throughout history, clandestine organizations have been whispered about, preserving ancient wisdom. Groups like the Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, and the Freemasons have long been rumored to be guardians of secrets about humanity's true origins. Could these groups be the modern custodians of the Anunnaki legacy? Some point to the Merovingian kings of France as a lost royal lineage with a mysterious non-human origin, possibly Enki. These hidden lineages and their guardian societies would, in theory, be working towards a long-term goal. What if the Anunnaki legacy isn't confined to a select few, but their genetic fingerprint exists within all of us? Sumerian texts describe humanity's creation as a mixing of God's essence and hominid DNA. Perhaps the Anunnaki legacy is the shared heritage of the entire human race, explaining our untapped potential and innate curiosity. Junk DNA may hide this latent code, suggesting even kings and commoners share Anunnaki genes. Activating this potential could be spiritual enlightenment or the next stage of human evolution, empowering us to become the gods our ancestors worshipped. We are not just creations but descendants, writing the next chapter of our story on Earth. We have journeyed from ancient Sumer to the furthest reaches of our solar system, and from the sacred texts of old to the genetic code within our very cells. The story of the Anunnaki defies easy categorization. It is a tale woven from archaeology, mythology, and the search for meaning. To ask, who are the Anunnaki, is to ask where do we come from and are we alone in the universe? There is no simple answer. Mainstream science sees the Anunnaki as mythological creations. Alternative theories propose they were real beings who shaped our destiny. Each of us must decide where we stand. The Anunnaki story forces us to confront the nature of evidence and belief. Our exploration of the Anunnaki does not end here, it simply pauses. The quest for answers is ongoing, a testament to our species' insatiable curiosity. The mystery endures because the questions it raises are fundamental to our identity. As long as there are gaps in our understanding of the past, as long as ancient ruins hold secrets and our own genetic code remains partially undeciphered, the story of the Anunnaki will continue to provide a powerful lens through which to explore these enigmas. It is a narrative that evolves with us, taking on new meaning as we make new discoveries about our world and our universe. The most important takeaway from this journey is not a definitive answer, but an encouragement to continue asking questions. It is vital to approach such topics with a mind that is both open and critical. We must be willing to entertain extraordinary ideas, to challenge the established narrative, and to explore the furthest frontiers of possibility. At the same time, we must demand evidence, think critically, and learn to distinguish between well-reasoned speculation and unfounded belief. The truth, whatever it may be, is not served by blind acceptance of any single doctrine, but by a tireless and honest process of inquiry. The search for the Anunnaki is, in its purest form, a search for ourselves. Whether they were gods, aliens, or simply the product of a powerful human imagination, their story holds up a mirror to our own hopes and fears. It reflects our desire for connection, our fear of being insignificant, and our deep-seated intuition that we are part of a story far grander than we can perceive. The tale of beings who came from the heavens reminds us to keep looking up, to continue exploring the cosmos around us and the equally vast, uncharted cosmos within us. The journey is the destination. So the next time you gaze upon the night sky, consider the immense journey these stories have taken to reach us. They have traveled through millennia, passed down from clay tablets to digital screens, from the first city to the global village. They are whispers from the dawn of time, potent with mystery and possibility. The Anunnaki remain an enigma, a puzzle made of ancient dust and starlight, and perhaps for now, that is how it should be. For in the mystery, we find the motivation to continue our search for the ultimate truth of who we are and what our place is in the universe.